Okay, and welcome back, students who are taking financial accounting. And in this series of videos, we are working on the assigned homework problems from the digital study guide for Chapter 12, the Group B exercises. Note, accounting is about understanding the concepts and then applying that understanding to the situation at hand. If you get the application aspect wrong, it is one thing and is easily remedied by watching someone else work the problem. However, if you don't understand the concepts, that is a whole other thing. Watching a problem worked out will not help you if you don't understand the underlying concepts. Go back and study the text material again and watch the theory videos. If you still don't understand the concepts, then either email or telephone an instructor to get help with that understanding. Right, so for the last problem here in our exercise, our Group B exercises, it says complete a financial statement given certain information. Right, so we're given this information here, and it's in millions of dollars. All right, so this 30,000 is actually 30 million dollars, right? But we'll stick with the millions of dollars. All right, so complete the following condensed balance sheet. Report amounts rounded to the nearest 1 million, right? So answer whenever you're working on a problem, answer what the question is being asked. It says round to the nearest $1 million, right? Don't be giving, answers like 3 million, right? Let's say it's supposed to be 3,250,000, right? Round to the nearest million, so you're talking about 3 million, right? Okay, so we're going to fill in this information, all right? So our current assets, when we look at the data, our current assets are 30 million. All right, now let's see here, property, plant. All right, so I have current assets, I have accumulated depreciation, I have total liabilities. All right, so then I have a debt ratio and I have a current ratio. All right, so let's sit down and think about this. And okay, what do I have? So I have my current assets, and I have property, plant, and equipment, which I don't have information. I have less accumulated depreciation. So this here is 5,000 right here. Let's make this the 30. All right, so, and I have total assets, right? So my total assets, long-term, right? Total assets. If I have a debt ratio, and my debt rate, and I understand, and if I know that my debt ratio is equal to my total liabilities over my total assets, okay? And I know that my debt ratio is 60%, and that's equal to my total liabilities, which is 45,000, over my total assets, right? In order to manipulate the formula, in order to isolate the total assets, okay, I multiply both sides by the total assets. So total assets times 60% is equal to 45,000, right? Because if I multiply both sides by my total assets here, right, the total assets on this side cancel out, right? So now I have total assets times 60% is equal to 45,000, and to isolate the total assets, I divide both sides by 60%, so I have 45,000 divided by 60%, okay? And that, if I divide 45,000 by 60%, I end up with 75,000. Okay, so my total assets are going to be 75,000. All right, pause the video. I'm going to erase all of this. Okay, and in case you're wondering why I used the debt ratio, in order to do this, if I know that the debt ratio is equal to total liabilities over total assets, and I also know that the current ratio is equal to my current assets over my current liabilities, right? I have these pieces to the puzzle to be able to help me figure things out. Since I'm looking for total assets, and the reason why I'm looking for total assets here is because I have 30,000. If I know that my total assets, if I can figure out the total assets, then that tells me that the book value, all right, of my property, plant, and equipment is the difference between those two numbers, right? So that has to be 45, and it's not 70,000, 70 million. Well, yeah, it is 70. Let's do it like that. 75,000. I know that's 45. Okay. By getting that number, that allows me to get that number. And then when I look at these, if I have two pieces of the puzzle, I can always figure out the third, right? So here I had my debt ratio was 60%, and my total liabilities were 45. So by knowing 2 out of 3, I'm able to calculate the third. And it's the same thing with my current ratio here, right? My current ratio is 1.5, and if I know my current assets are 30,000, I can calculate my current liabilities doing the same exact thing. Notice I don't have the current liabilities here, but I do the same thing. I multiply 1.5 equals 30,000 over current liabilities. I multiply both sides by the current liabilities, right? These cancel out, so then I have my current liability times 1.5 is equal to 30,000. This is just math. This is stuff that you learn back in Math for Business and Finance. So if you're not understanding this, go back over the first few chapters of Math for Business and Finance or Math Applications work, and you can find supplementary videos on the student community underneath the business group in order to refresh your memory. So we end up dividing both sides by 1.5. Okay, so that means my current liabilities are equal to 30,000 divided by 1.5, which gives me 20,000. So my current liabilities in this case is 20,000, and this was 45. Right, so pause the video, and because I'm going to erase this. So notice what I did. I took my my two ratios there, and I filled in some of the blank information. I manipulated some of that information. Right, so now I know that my current liabilities here are 20. Right. Now let's see, where am I going to go from here? Okay, go from here. Since I know my accumulated depreciation is 5,000, and I know the book value is 45,000, I can add those together to give my property, plant, and equipment 50. Okay, so that solves that. Now, remember the total assets here, right? That's on our balance sheet. We have total assets, and now we look at, we have liabilities, we have stockholders' equity, and then total liabilities and stockholders' equity. So if I have, I know that my total assets are 75, so that my total liabilities and stockholders' equity has to be 75, right? Because the accounting equation, assets is equal to liabilities plus equity, right? If this is 75, then the total of these has to be 75, okay? Now, let's see here. It's just like doing a puzzle, all right? That's all this is right here. That's the feeling I get behind it. All right, so Let's see what's next. Okay, all right, next. Long-term liabilities and current liabilities. Okay, right. Okay, so my total liabilities are 45,000. All right. So if my long-term liabilities are, if my total liabilities are 45,000 and my current liabilities are 20,000, right? One from the other means that my long-term liabilities have to be 25,000. Okay, and then if my current liabilities are 20, long-term are 25, and I want to know what my equity is, okay, and the total of my liabilities plus my equity is 75, right? So I take the 75,000 minus the 20,000 minus the 25,000, and that will give me 30,000 as my stockholders' equity. Okay, and that is it for that. All right, so you know, a brain teaser here, but it's a good exercise because notice how I went about it. I went and I said, okay, if I have a ratio and I have, I know 2 out of 3 parts of each ratio, I could figure out the third part of it, which gives me additional information and being able to fill in the blanks. And then understanding the structure of things, okay, knowing that assets is equal to liabilities plus my equity, all right, and this, understanding the book value of, property of an asset, okay, and knowing that, okay, if I have a, a total liability is equal to current liabilities plus my long-term liability, right? I'm 2 out of 3. I'm being able to figure out the third. And of course, liabilities plus stockholders' equity. If I know what my liabilities are, I can then calculate my equity, all right, down here, right? And being able to fill in all the pieces, right? So pause the video if you have to go back and rewatch it, all right? It's a pretty good exercise, and to be honest with you, you're not going to be doing this in the workplace. This is not something that happens in the workplace. You don't get information like this, but doing an exercise like this does help you solidify, do you understand concepts? And I think, unfortunately, they don't give enough exercises like this, I think, in textbooks, because it makes you think through the concepts in order to be able to understand them correctly and how to be able to piece them together. And if they had more exercises like this, it just gives you a fuller understanding and ingrain that intuitively into you. All right. So with that said, like I said, go back and watch the video again if you didn't understand something. If you were missing pieces of the theory, well then yeah, you're going to have to go back to other chapters in order to be able to pick that up. Basically, chapters 1, 2, and 3 are a big help because you're talking about, the structure of your balance sheet, and then, go back over the chapters that deal with any of the ratios, okay, in order to, for the debt ratio and the current ratio. And watch the theory videos for that. And if you still don't understand something, then feel free to telephone and speak with an instructor. And with that said, I'll see you in the next series of videos for working on the problems for this chapter.